1, 2, 3, surface 1.
So this is a piece that I started making in my Canal Street studio. I was still cooking in restaurants for cash, and I just thought, I'm going to go to the lumber yard and get 2 pieces of plywood. And so I did. And then when I got them back to my studio on Canal Street, I decided, how can I ask the dancers to deal with these 4x8 pieces of 3/4 inch plywood. They're heavy. And my idea was you'd run at them, and then you'd slam into them, and then you'd fall with them. Adhere to them the way you do a perfect front fall or a perfect back fall by not changing. You can't cave on your way down. You've got to stay flat. The board is flat, and you both fall together. So there are lots of ideas like that we would marry ourselves to instruments of the build. And as I got them back to the studio and started to cover them with marley and tape them, they became these beautiful objects. Of course, with the marley coating all 4, 5, 6 sides of them, they became quite heavy and cumbersome, but a little easier for the flesh of the body to handle them. And they were 4x8, so they were rectangles. And I tried to create sort of a scheme because we worked on a square surface, 20 by 20. And I tried to figure out by mapping out these different situations, like you could either have it vertical and fall, and then pick it up horizontal and fall, and then come back this way. And I tried to figure out how I could organize or orchestrate these lifts and falls, and all 5 dancers, 6 dancers coming at it from all different directions. So all that was happening was this beautiful domino dance of these objects trying to fit logically into a square arena. And actually, if somebody was really tracking it, they would be able to see that that's not possible. And to have the perfect machine that I was dreaming of, I would have had to change my playing area to a rectangle. But I don't think anyone but me noticed the slight errant quality of the conception of this. Rectangles and squares don't like each other. I love the essentialistness of the fabric of both cement blocks, steel I-beams, plywood, wood, 2x4s. And so we invented all of this different vocabulary that had to do with running, falling, lifting, holding. The second someone hit it, you'd run away, you'd pick it up, land on it yourself. So this is sort of a series of a notion where you have both boards vertically together, and then there'd be 2 people at each end, and somebody would jump up onto the top and see if they could tightrope walk on the edge, and then pull it out like this, just a little, so 2 people could come from the sides at opposite upstage, downstage, and do a 180 back hit, but grab the top of the wall and then just fall back. And so that was not everyone's most favorite move, I don't think. But as I'm looking at these drawings and reminding myself how much experimentation went into just having a very logical series of happenings seemed to be necessary given where you started from, once the walls fell, sometimes in opposite directions, how you had to make just slight half-inch adjustments if they fell kind of to the side incorrectly. And it was one of those dances that could have been 20 minutes long. Our dances then, in the 80s and 90s, early 90s, were a lot longer than they are now. I came to realize as time went on that action is an experience, not a story. And so I learned how to throw out the unnecessary parts and try to choose what the critical parts that created the correct rhythm. And what I was trying to get at is, the profound rhythm that action and equipment can provide. It would be very hard, I think, to reconstruct these dances without me directing it. I will say no one's beating down our doors to want to do slamming, banging, flying, falling from high heights. But someday they will. Actually, the capacity, the number of ideas we had for this dance were fairly endless. And what I loved so much about it was slower in retrospect, but faster than other things I had made up to that point. My father was a mason, and I thought plywood was a part of my life, and so I thought, well, this might be the cheapest machine that I've ever really been able to think of. This is two boards overlapping constantly. So this would be like the number one would be the sideboard, so the blue goes first, and then you put this other situation there and it goes vertically, and these two boards are constantly overlapping each other. And you pick up the one on top that then becomes the bottom, you pick up the one on top that becomes the bottom. If I look back and try to think about what are my favorite dances, this is definitely one of them. And yet when we got to Slam, and this would have been a few years ago, but I reconstructed this dance. And after doing big machine dances, after doing, the small idiosyncratic single second events like diving through glass or the air rams dance when we stepped out of this ejection machine and was trying to demonstrate acceleration in a half second. This dance, no matter how well we learned it, was too slow. It took too long for the boards to land. It took too long to lift them up and have that person be there at that second. And so I shelved it, and we never really performed it again.